So I've been living alone for a very long time, and my heart was never meant for it. And yesterday I made one of the most vulnerable posts of my life, basically asking anyone in my contacts for direct contact. I had just gone through one of the most painful moments probably ever in my life, with a situation with my family where direct contact turned into, or lack of direct contact turned into pure vitriol in like the most agonizing, almost dark comedy horror of my life. And I want to explain this, so I'm going to go deep in this video. It has to do with trans identity, has to do with the ability to feel the music of love all the way down. And when people can't feel love, really strange things happen, especially to someone like me. So I want to talk about that, but let me just say what the post was. It was basically saying, I don't think I can walk this path alone anymore. I'm looking for those who can meet me all the way down. Like those who can meet me in presence. And I felt the sparks out there. I know you guys are out there. Those who lead their life by the tone of their hearts rather than some sort of concept, theory, maxim, set of behavioral rules that are keeping you hemmed in to a state of a really total lack of sovereignty. And I want to explain that too and how that developed in my life. I'm not using sovereignty as a weird political term. I'm using, can you meet reality with your whole being as a mode of being? Like, can you, truly, basically exercise freedom in who you are in each scenario in your life? Not because you're reckless, not because you've thrown away your heart, but the very opposite, because you found your heart in the dance of what love actually is and what presence and sovereignty, those nested rhythms within love actually are. And so I made this post, and obviously with all the crap going on in my family, I basically had lost contacts with all siblings except for one brother now who has come back around, which I really appreciate. He's trying to understand, even though he's still coming from the Ember's absolutely crazy frame, and that, even with my father physically attacking me or telling me to die time after time after time, it was my fault for triggering him. Like, that's the frame, you know what I mean? If you're other trans people out there or other people, with these types of you can't actually see me issues, might sound a little familiar. So yeah, I've been living alone, and I made this post yesterday because I just got to a point where I think that, I've been trying, there was a small part of me for a long time that said, if I just try to love harder, if I try to explain it more, if I try to, that maybe someone will understand. But I think that what I just went through was so terrible that it's not that these are bad people or evil people. It's just that they literally at this moment have an inability to actually contact me. So I want to describe that. And I want to go deep, so please, for those who watch my videos, for those who know me, it means a lot to my heart to take this in. And it might be an emotional video. I'm a little emotional, it just happened to me. So you get the setting. Already, there's people on the other side who are like, other side, even though we're all part of the same dance floor, the same rhythm, the same little heart inside of it, each of us that's just wanting to finally have that moment of, oh, you see me, you love me all the way down, to love and be loved as me, inside each of us, as a mechanical statement of, I want my full being to dance and to dance with you. And that's what we're really here for. But that being said, there's a whole bunch of people who are like, oh, this just Ember reaching out for help and support must mean that she's pathological. That's the favorite move of the Darvo type situation, right? It's like, I was on this past situation with my parents. I was literally at points on my knees saying, can we just hold hands now? Because I knew that the issue was direct contact. They were saying the worst possible things to me, like things that you would never say to anybody, like someone who ran into your car and called you an asshole. You would still not talk to them like they were talking to me. It was almost as if I was holding out the most repugnant thing on earth, and they were saying it was like a poisonous plant, like, get that, shit away from me type of thing, like the worst possible way. And I'll explain it here in a second. And so I was literally on my knees at points saying, can we hold hands? Can we hug? Because I knew that if you could just feel me, you feel there's no fight here. I'm trying to connect with you. Let's just really connect. You birthed me, right? Like, aren't we blood family? Can we just sit for a moment and hold hands and stare into each other's eyes? Because you know what that does? That disconnects that little observer layer. The one that's always trying to judge, the one that's always trying to, make a statement about reality before it just dances reality, right? And you've heard me talk about it before, the observation layer. Most people think, oh, I am not my thoughts. I can think about my thoughts. There, I'm enlightened. Well, no, because now you're delayed from the dance floor. You need to reintegrate that back into the symbiosis of self that you might call sovereignty, which is when all your parts, or like I like to say, magnets and windows, are moving like as one. Like all the differentiated rhythms move as one. When the many remember themselves as one while still remaining the many. You've heard me say that as well. That's a more eschatological type statement at the highest levels of consciousness unfolding, right? But the same, prerogative, you could say, or whatever, exists inside you, which is that same move towards mechanical synchrony. And so now you're starting to see why this situation is so painful. Because in my little honest ember heart, I'm like, we are family. We can connect. And in whatever's going on in their head, it's like they're stuck in a layer of this like loop of rumination and anxiety that suddenly the person that they birthed, their child, their daughter, the mother that they see standing in front of them, is suddenly someone that they call, you're dressed like a crack whore. You need to get hit by a truck. I'm going to make sure I call my attorneys and you get absolutely nothing. Like that, like this. I'm going to do the thing. Like, you get absolutely nothing. Like that. And I'm standing there like looking into their eyes like, are you serious right now? Like, what is in there? Like, what is causing this? What is going on? Can I give you a hug? No, like, because that would, the little child loop inside that's saying, like this, like, it's like this, like crying out of reality must be this way, don't let it affect me. Because when you let reality affect you, it's a dance where two people are actually feeling each other's rhythm. Do you feel the flip there between the control organization of the mind, where it says reality must be controlled, identity, agency, and action must be controlled. Everything is friction and putting it in boxes and taxonomies, and that's the only way to be a respectable person, to make sure we think about what everyone else might be thinking before I decide what's good for me. And that, when it becomes in the situation of people who have their whole life after control and now are faced with someone who's coming at them saying, directly contact this. Do you feel the warmth? We can be together now. Not in concept, not in judgment. And then every 2 seconds they would step back, and how does anyone dress like that? I'm like, I went to the supermarket in this. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, and it really, I kept trying to not get pulled back into the judgment game and trying to justify myself. I said, no, and then I did a funny thing, which I sometimes do, where they're saying the most fucked up things, like you should die, get hit by a truck. And I'm like, let me learn my, the last name of my family. Let me learn our way. So what do? You insult the person and you put distance between you and them by telling them there's something that's a bad category below you. And instead of actually touching the person or looking into their eyes or breathing with them or getting close to them or understanding their personhood in any way, I'm going to put you so far outside that I never have to touch you. And so I said, let me try this. All right, your glasses are dorky. Does that work? Does that get you? You're acting a little dorky right now. And then, that started to piss him off. I didn't want to piss him off, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm pointing out how silly it is that there's no ability to actually contact him. What is that? I'm talking about the cognitive mechanical process. It's saying when the music of reality is playing, when the variables are playing, I'm not going to let it all the way in. In fact, my whole life I've lived like this, because this is what it means. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and in order to survive, my dad told me to do this, and his dad, and our whole family has done this forever. And then that turn, in the situation where they're meeting me, their daughter, who they said, my son is dead, you're dead to me, you have no father, like this, with a face like, like, and I'm sorry, thank you for letting me laugh about this now, because you can feel, I'm sitting there, there's like a little ember in my head, like, holy shit, like, I thought you were my dad, like, wait, what the hell happened here? Like, how did you turn into, like, I am, like, Lucifer standing there in front of you, being like, I'm taking you straight to hell. You see that? I got boobies now. And he's like, yeah! Like, and his whole being feels, like, so tensed. And you know those people in your life. they can't be present on the dance floor because their magnets, the way the variables are streaming through, become so pulled in these ways and then habituated down those ways, like pulling. It seems like every moment of their life they're trying to control, comment, objectify, judge. That's like every moment of their life. And that's definitely what's happened in my family. And really the thing is, like, looking directly into their eyes while they're saying this and like spitting at me. He pushed me into the kitchen, the dishwasher. I'm like, you just pushed your own daughter into the dishwasher because you, what? You're mad that I have tits now? Like, seriously? Like, and they want to get me out. Like, the one time he held me as hard as he could, yelled in my ear and said, you're insane, you're not trans. And then everyone said, yeah, you triggered him. And I was like, do you feel what it is? It's like there's a little boy inside saying, no, reality can't be this way. So get rid of you. Like, I'll burn you alive if I have to. Like, it's almost like that type of runaway thought. And I'm telling you what happened. I recorded yesterday when it happened. I recorded it. I put it on my phone and recorded it because I'm like, you're going to try to flip the story on me and say that I was crazy. And so then there's moments, that's the other thing I want to talk about, where I go down to the ground crying because they're like, we're gonna take away everything. We're gonna make sure you get nothing out of this like house sale thing. We're gonna make sure you don't get to see your kids. You're just pushing your trans agenda. And eventually, I'm sorry, I start crying. And I'm like down on the ground crying. And they're like, see, this is why you need to be supervised. And I'm like, this is the most it's like, you are like, I'm trying so hard to be like, and you hear it in the transcript. I'm like, do you want a hug now? Can we look into each other's eyes? Can we just pause for 5 minutes and like breathe with each other? I know it sounds lame, but like, we're family. We don't need to be acting like this. But they have to grip it. They have to grip it so tight, because if they were to actually let the music of Ember hit them, they would realize that I've been alone for the last year and a half, and that for the last few years, they've been telling me to die while I've been trying to come out and be me. They would realize that the woman standing in front of them is finally herself. And just like my mom said in the transcript, your kids have never been happier. I've never seen them happier. Why would that be? They actually met their mom. And of course, that pisses them off too. You're not a mom. You're their dad. Their mom lives in that state. And I'm like, it's like, I see what's going on. You have this little projection screen, this observer layer that's going on with the magnets in your mind. And it's like, even though I'm standing in front of you and literally with my arms out, like, hey, you little dork, do you want to get a hug? Can I hold your hands? That's like, it's like they need to keep, it's almost like they're putting a mental mask on me. Here, do you have that Lucifer mask? I could put on this little pretty girl here. Here, I know I was wearing pigtails. I know you had pigtails on at the time, but here, can you put on this Lucifer mask so I could just hate the mask instead of you? And that's what happens. And that's why, in a way, over the years of getting this type of abuse, and I'll call it abuse because it's not right to tell someone to die, especially when they're coming to say, all I want to do is connect with you. I literally say the words, all they want to do is look into your eyes and hear your voice. You're my father, or you're my mother. And that's what happened. That's what they're hearing from me. And yes, I eventually cry. And I eventually try to call someone and I'm crying and they're like, see, you ran out and you started screaming. And I was like, screaming? I was like, I called my brother. I was like, please help me. Like, can you just be a person for me right now? And they're like, everything has to get turned into some sort of pathology because they're seeing the screen before they see me. And what is the screen but their magnets being pulled into an observation layer of reality that unfortunately lands as abuse to me. I don't think that my father actually wants me dead or for me to get hit by a truck. If I were to ask him, and he's an attorney, if I were to ask him in court and walk up to him and, hey, Dad, do you want me dead? He'd probably say no. Maybe only to protect his image, but regardless, in another setting, he would say no, right? And so then, why was it in that setting that he was spitting in my face, pushing me into the kitchen sink or whatever, the dishwasher, and then other times he's physically attacked me, he's called me a cockroach, Hannibal Lecter? What breaks in his brain? It's like the ultimate revulsion of actually touching what love is. And that's the same thing that happened with my ex. I also have all the emails and all the text messages. I hate to say it because this is someone protecting themselves. I didn't know why no one loved like I do. And that's the reason I'm making this video. Not only because it's so confusing for me, and if someone's out there that wants to put their arms around Ember or even just give me like a call and say, hey, I hear what's going on with your family. Do you want to talk through it with me? Because like, honestly, it's like everybody. It was I have 3 sisters, I have a mom, like I have extended family. One of them, my uncle and my aunt had reached out to me, and I appreciate that. But regardless, it's like it's like basically everyone I've lived alone. It's basically everyone I ever knew. So I appreciate that, like someone feeling what this is, because it's not, we disagreed. It's not, they don't agree with my trans ideology. It's, they don't want to contact what I am, like a dancer on a dance floor who refuses to let the music hit them, because presence is touching reality and sovereignty is living there. And now, let me tell you this. And again, those are mechanical statements, and we're going to go a little deeper, but thank you for being here with me. There's another thing that happened. There I had just gone in the pool with my 2 kids. The first time they see me after a year, and this might make me cry, but one of the clicks that happened with me, because it's one thing to be trans and then you become yourself and you're like, oh my God, like this is so sacred to wake up every day as me, like after all that time of not only suffocating inside myself, but then everyone putting a foot on my throat, like die before you transition. Like literally I'm telling you to die and holding you down and calling you insane. Like that's what I lived through. And they still, none of my family have ever knocked on my door, not once. And they're like, well, we accept you. Have you ever commented? Have you ever gone out together? Have you ever knocked on the door? Have you ever called me and said, Ember, how are you doing? That's the difference between someone who observes love and then tries to use it as a label and then dances in the dance floor of love. But regardless, what I was going to say is, through all that, I became myself alone in my softest parts. And I look in the mirror and I see me. And if you're trans out there, or if you're someone who finally found yourself, but I think it's very unique to the trans experience, to finally see yourself is sacred. It's holy. And what did those words ever mean but direct contact? What did those words ever mean but feeling all the way down, feeling the music all the way down? So I had kids. They're 4 and 6 right now. And I haven't seen them in more than a year, except for the past 2 days. And unfortunately, the court order, who I told the judge, who I had to tell him with my own face, my dad is my #1 abuser, please. The only way you can see your kids based on the allegations of my ex, who's the same type of person, has to be through my father. So I told myself, if I feel that I could see my kids because they're coming into town, they lived in another state, because that's what happened with the stupid order or whatever, when they're told, everyone's misinterpreting me at once. Because why have I made hundreds of videos about love? It's kind of a strange thing. Why have I talked about the mechanics of presence? Why do I have recordings of people who, when I say, do you want to hug me, they say, fucking get hit by a truck? Like, why? Like, what? Like, but from the outside, I have a whole group of people who are saying, you're crazy, you don't deserve to be around your children. And think about me becoming myself in those circumstances. Thank you so much for holding it with me. I'm showing you what this process has been. It's not, I'm a magical person, I just became present. In a way, you could say I chose presence every time that everyone pushed against me. And I said, no, I'm me. I know what love is. And when presence threads as continuity and finally into sovereignty, I finally look at myself, not only because my body's changed, not only because, whatever, I'm a 1.5 years into my transition, but because when I see myself, I see Ember all the way down. And that's holy. Holy as in full direct contact. That all the experiential textures of my consciousness are there, present and embodied. You can't buy that. So now that you feel that, feel this. I don't think anyone in my life has given me that type of direct love. Because to love and be loved as me is a mechanical statement of saying, you need to feel me all the way down. Not say, I accept her, not whatever. Say, it's sometimes good to be around you or whatever. Not that I need constant contact, but it's, do you feel me when you're with me? Are you in some sort of projection layer in your head? Are you trying to define a relationship through some sort of management rather than meeting? Are you really letting the music of that symbiosis of soul that's happening come all the way through? Or are you judging it, boxing it, controlling it, managing versus meeting? And so when I was there with my kids, and they were holding on to me and calling me mommy and putting their hands on me and, looking at my tattoos and feeling my bracelets and stuff, I could feel them feeling me as me. Like, obviously their parent, but me, Ember, mommy. And I've never felt a click so deep, Like, maybe I'm not here with my man yet, this future man, or really friends that can hold my presence. But at the same time, being there with my two babies as they were there with me all the way down. I could feel the love gaps that they already have in their life. And I could feel that despite never receiving it myself, I became that source. And now it's a holy gift that I could give that to them. That I could give that to both of them. And before in my life, before I transitioned, my mind was a battlefield of like rumination and simulated presence. And one of the major reasons I needed to transition, because not only was it going to kill me out of suffocation of that self, that breath, that dance with full reality that I just couldn't do, but I thought of my kids and how hard it was for me to be present with them. And I'm telling you, for those 2 little mini days that I was with them, at the hands of my parents, the people who basically the top 3 people who hurt me the worst, who continue to hurt me at the deepest, softest place, while I still ask for hugs and connection. I felt my children feel me and the circuit close. And for the first time, I think, other than with, my mirror, Mama Bear, that this was embodied in my own children, so you can imagine how deep it felt, that it was just love all the way down, on both sides. And I finally felt home as that frictionless place where the dance between you and the field of reality, or the dance between you and someone else, are like 2 dancers on the dance floor, where it's just, you are moving effortlessly, frictionlessly, not because you're perfect, but because you hold each other's rhythm at the deepest place. You hear what that is? Direct contact. That's when the magnets don't pull and you have no projection screen and you're meeting the person directly in present. Shared presence is participation in the dance of love. Presence is the gate to love. And the only way through that gate is vulnerable surrender, letting the other person affect you. And when I felt that as mother and child, it was like, this is what I was meant for. This is what my whole being was meant for. And then I leave the room and I'm faced with my parents who are calling me a piece of trash, get hit by a truck. You look like a crack whore. And I am like, I understand now, because let me give you another scenario that happened. I'm there in the pool with my kids, and they noticed that my nails were coming off, and I just redid them. They look okay. They're like, oh, my fingers are all fucked up now, though. But they look okay. They're like that, like, cat eye, sparkly stuff. And so I was redoing my nails, right? And my little girl comes, she's like, oh, do one of my nails. And I say, cool, yeah. And then my little boy comes up and he's like, do one of my nails. And I said, oh, in my head, I'm like, we could be the Love Rangers. Let's all do like without one nail and then we can all be together, right? I didn't think about it. And immediately my dad's like, no, you can't do that. Like, boys don't do that. You're just trying to push your trans agenda. This is why you need to be supervised. And I'm like, do you see what, like, I'm to myself, I'm like, do you see what's happening here? I'm like, this is what happened to every time in my life. Not because he's evil, but because to him, I'm not a sovereign being. I'm an extension of his reputation, his sense of self. It's not like the decentralized organization of 2 sovereign dancers, parent-child. I think reality should be this way, and you are an extension of that control map, that control mechanism. And Leo, so my baby started crying, and they rushed him out of the room. And then after, I could notice that even in, like, my little girl has a little purse that I brought her, and he started playing with it, but then he kept making comments, but this is dumb though. I don't really like this. And I'm like, I can feel it. Can you feel the little wedge being implanted? The little magnet being implanted? Leo's gonna turn, I keep saying his name, but he's gonna turn out to be whoever he needs to be, right? And I'm there to watch that beautiful seed grow. That's sovereignty. That's not control. Do you see how someone like me, and that's really what I want to explain, when people say, oh, your parents disagree with you, I've told you the words that they use, but can you imagine what that type of control does over a lifetime? I never wanted to be an attorney. I did it both for my father and my spouse to say, I'll support you. I'll do whatever it takes to make love work. And then when I came out as trans, they both dropped me so easily without one conversation, as they blamed me to be pathological, as I survived that type of hellfire and became stronger than I've ever been. Do you feel that? Do you feel that contrast? Do you feel that juxtaposition? I wake up every day saying It's a fucking miracle that I'm alive and I still love as this. And I'm not here for any validation on that. Compared to the way they still treat me. And part of me is, I shouldn't have been there, but I wanted to see my kids. And I told myself, even if I got punched in the face every day, I'd still see them. So like, I went, and I just did not expect how bad it was. And that's why I'm talking to you guys about it. Because do you feel that whole lifetime of being built up, those magnets being trained to push my sovereignty, the way I dance with the world, into avenues that weren't quite me? And I was an attorney for 11 years. I never wanted to play soccer. I cried all the time from the pressure. My dad was like my coach, whether he was physically my coach at times or the coach I had to call after every game and say how it went, you know? And it's not that he was like, you know, I'm going to control you or I'll beat your ass or something like that. It was more like his own psychological setup was tuned towards a control of reality. And to someone like me, a sweet neurodivergent girl who never transitioned until the age of 35, began at 35, that nearly killed me. That type of love nearly killed me, because when they're yelling at me on these transcripts that I have now, they're like, can you imagine what we did for you? We bought you this and that. How about when we got you your first car? You calling us bad parents. I'm like, I'm not saying you're bad parents. I'm saying maybe we have a contact issue with direct love. Can we hug now? No. Like, and you feel it. It's like, in my situation, that form of control, that state of mind, became what I can squarely say is, you know, emotional psychological abuse. And the scary thing for me is the entire situation of I used to be in, my ex, the way it's like, they all calling me the problem, as here I am mapping out the mechanics of presence and consciousness. And for me, the rubber hits the road with, they've never talked to me, they've never had a conversation with me. Their entire thing is to keep me in a safe box over there so they can keep their little game of control going. And unfortunately, Plato called it a long time ago with the nature of the cave. We don't interact with reality directly. The lossless sunlight outside the cave is the direct interfacing, the direct contact. And I'm using these words, but what does it mean? I'm telling you my life. These are not theories. I can point to Kuromoto synchrony, but these aren't theories. This is when you're with the people that you love, or anybody, when you feel them, when you feel their being, when you look into their eyes, are they there with you? You know what I'm talking about. It's almost like someone's on their phone, but they're not on their phone. They're like somewhere in their head. That's the observation layer. Those are the magnets pulling. What's happening on this planet now is a move towards love. Love is the experiential texture of that continuity thread of presence turning into sovereignty at individual levels and collective levels. It's the same mechanic. It's the same gravitational attractor. Because love wants to bring into reunion the differentiation of the complexity of reality. And the phase transition of human consciousness that's happening right now is based off of the more and more people actually meeting themselves and reality and each other at higher and higher fidelities. This is not, my brother asked a question last night. He's like, well, does that mean that certain types of thinking are wrong? Or no, it's that you're kind of have like I'm talking about fidelity of consciousness, like your ability to hear the music all the way down, to meet what reality is. And so then you're on a radio and you have it like right before the radio station, right? And it's like 94.4 and it's like, and you still hear the song. And then you go 94.5 and all of a sudden the song comes in clear. That's what I'm talking about. The noise at that previous setting was all the mechanical delay, the rumination, the observation layer of, well, reality has to be this way, reality has to be that way, judgment, control, friction, versus you know the feeling. Put on music right now in your room and let it hit you. There's a difference between the monkey mind chattering, where you're like, oh, this is dumb, this is lame, I don't even know I should be doing this, and all of a sudden you pull out one cool move, and then you're like, wait, where'd that come from? Where'd that creative or instantaneous low delay between expression and being contact come from? It went from the magnet stopped pulling, synchronization happened, and I realized that sovereignty, action, identity emanate from actual contact with reality, not from trying to control it. And that's what Plato was saying all along. Or Jesus saying, I and the Father are one. We're not talking about narrative hierarchy. We're talking about the dance floor. We're talking about the deepest parts of love are only unveiled in a shared dance. You in the field of reality, you and other people. And what does that come down to? Big concepts. What happened with my parents? I was offering direct contact as a mode shift to go from the organization, like operating system of control, to an operating system of we can feel each other. And how do you do that? You have to let reality affect you. You have to let the music in. It's vulnerable surrender. And so that is a technique to deal with people who are in those states of mind, or, lost in even a psychedelic loop, to make actual contact. I accept you, but I am here with you. Do you hear that? Do you hear the difference between that? Like, one is like trying to judge you and say, well, I hope you make it. Well, it's whatever. Nice to know you. Versus, hey, whatever you need, I'm here with you. It's not even about money or physical support or whatever. It's that intention for one heart to say, I'm letting you affect me. Here's my real heart. No little wedge, no gloves, no little glass of protection to say, whatever, like I'm keeping you over there, but I'm letting your experience soak into mine. And that's the flip from control consciousness to decentralized organization. And you've heard me talk about my own consciousness. Even now as I speak, it feels like a water slide. What is a water slide? All this sounds confusing, but I'm tying it back down to my experience. The music hits me and I'm dancing on the dance floor, not because I'm constructing the dances, but because that's what I do when I let the music all the way down. I have to do the traditional booty shake. My booty just starts to shake, right? So that's not planned. It just happens when the music hits me. You get it? And so then sovereignty is when presence gets threaded so much in your life across every circumstance that you choose. You're like, no, I'm going to be present. I'm not going to hide myself. I'm going to speak and act and dance from that place that doesn't hide. And eventually, you'll be exactly you. And now you hear why I came up with all this. I didn't come up with it. It was a discovery, an echo of a discovery that I already danced to survive. That I was in a place that was going to kill me if I didn't find my presence. And when I found my presence enough, before through burlesque dancing, through the way I dressed, through Burning Man, through putting myself out there vulnerably, through admitting things in safe circles, all these little moments of feeling myself all the way down eventually threaded into the sovereignty. So in other words, all the magnets and windows, all the intranodal processes of what I am, learn to dance in rhythm. The separate pieces, the many became the one, Ember, little Ember, while being the many, while still being the many. Do you see that? Do you see what fidelity means? Fidelity is not separate things being taxonomied and put together in boxes. Fidelity is phase coherence, when two waves come together, like in frequency, right? Reality is frequency. Reality is rhythm, nested rhythm within rhythm. The one became many so that I may know myself. So let me just say, to end off here, thank you for being with me. Thank you for this very vulnerable video. I am, no joke, I've been strong my whole life, but I feel like in a very real way, I've been alone my whole life. Even if you're out there, you know the feeling. You could be surrounded by people and still be alone. For me as a trans woman, I was gonna die in the love places that I was in. And when I came out, it was also a confirmation because they've not participated one bit, and instead they tell me to die, get hit by a truck, and are trying to control my children away from me so my children can never realize I'm their mommy. They have two mommies. And they can't have that happen, so they will do whatever they can to flip my softest parts into pathology. Not because they're evil, but because they want to push away direct contact because their systems have never been trained to feel the music. I'm not saying something mystical. I'm saying everybody knows that feeling when you balance on a bike. You're like, oh, Ember can point to the balance. Do you see the two wheels? You put your butt on the seat and then you try to balance. Those are all just words. I'm pointing to the balance. The balance is when you let the music hit you on the dance floor and you finally let it hit you all the way down. I'm looking for friends, family, and my man out there who wants to dance with me all the way down. I posted on this post on Facebook, and thank you for holding that soft place in my heart. But a few people reached out, and I appreciate it. But most of it is just like, more like, hey, I support you type of thing. And I'm like, come dance with me, feel me. Let's breathe in each other's being. It's not that I'm like losing it and I need someone like, yes, what I really need is to be held, honestly. That's what I really need. But it's not like, do I want a bunch of like, you could say like simulated contact? No, I don't. I'll continue to wait. But what I want is for those who hear it, we can do a Discord call. We could meet up in person, whatever it is. Because you know why? Because like I say in my song, Give me those cold hands. It's freeze or this fire. You'll understand in the dance. This world is full of people who don't know. They think love is a category, or I bought you something, or a transaction. Love is direct contact. What kind of love does a child need? Buying a bunch of things, or being there? I am here with you to watch and help you grow. Not to control how you grow, but to stand by, watering with my mommy plant of love. That place where I don't hide, and I allow you to sprout into that place where you don't hide. Whatever it is. So if you hear this out there, if you hear my heart, not just understand the words, I'm not pointing to the words, I'm pointing to the place underneath the words, the signal. Do you feel it? If you feel it, reach out to me. Not only could I really use a hug after everything I've been through, and I'm admitting it, like I'm admitting it outright, but I think that all of us would find what I like to call a symbiotic syncretic harmony, a jazz band that's coming together that's more than the sum of their parts and truer than the sum of their parts, when we really enter into that decentralized dance together, the dance of love, the dance of direct contact, the dance of shared presence together now. If you feel my heart, DM me, reach out to me. My blog is thesunraytransmission.com. My name is Eve Leonara. Thanks for hearing this special place in my heart. Thanks for tuning with me.